Morning, Steve. Andy here, Andy Mechanic. Now, there's no fancy trailers, there's no editing, there's no cool graphics. This is just me, Andy Young, saying basically my opinions on your Canadian Tyre saga that's going on, this series of videos that you're putting out on YouTube, which I'm finding very interesting. But to be honest, it's not the first time that I've come across these problems. Where do we start? Well, you know, the reason why I'm doing this video is this morning, after reading some of the comments, the fresh comments on your episode 5, you know, I can write a comment, but I think a video carries an awful lot more weight. And you know, I'm going to compare your experience with how things would stand in England. And I've already mentioned a few bits and pieces in the comments that I left for you. Wheel nuts, wheel studs, hey, they were over-tightened, massively over-tightened. They have to be replaced. You can contact any vehicle manufacturer out there, and if you say to them that the wheel nuts and wheel studs have been over-tightened, they're going to tell you they have to be replaced. The reason for that is they're very likely to fail. The metal in those studs and on the actual wheel nuts themselves has been stressed, and as a result they're prone to failure, and the last thing you want is to lose a wheel. Now, in addition to that, you mentioned about the wheel weights missing on one of the rear wheels. Now, I work in grams over here. You had 2.5 ounces added to your wheel. I'm not too sure what that is, actually. It looked a pretty big weight, but it's a very big wheel. It was on the rear. Yes, it will cause premature wheel bearing failure and probably a little bit of vibration through the truck. Safety issue? No, I don't think it's a safety issue. And like you, I would say, hey, let it slide. There's a chance that wheel weight was put on and it's fallen off, so we can forget all about that. I think the biggest issue, which is the revelation that you announced this morning, sorry, New Zealand this morning, is the fact that your truck has got the wrong tyres on it. And it has got the wrong tyres on it. This is, you know, it's a fact. It's not maybe it's got the wrong tyres on it. It does have the wrong tyres on it. I'm not too familiar with your C rating, and I assume there's a D and an E rating. You say your truck is listed to have E rated tyres. I'm assuming that the higher the letter in the alphabet, the higher the load and speed ratings of that particular tyre. Here in New Zealand we use a different kind of chart for load and speed ratings. But for your truck to have tyres fitted which are under the minimum spec is extremely dangerous. Basically the ply rating of that tyre is insufficient to carry the load of the vehicle, which could cause the tyres to get hot. They're going to deform a lot more as they rotate under the weight of the truck, and this is going to create a heat buildup in the tyre, and there will be a much higher possibility, even on a brand new tyre, of a blowout. You're going to get carcass failure, and you're going to get the cords of the tyre basically breaking free from the rubber of the tyre, and it's all going to turn to shit, and you're going to get a blowout. And that's really not a good thing. And given the fact that your truck probably runs empty most of the time and doesn't carry huge amounts of load, then that's probably most likely to happen on a front tyre. And that's extremely dangerous if you have a blowout on a front tyre, because that's not only going to affect the drive, it's also going to affect the steering of the vehicle and can very easily cause a pretty serious accident. The legalities of driving your vehicle on the road. Again, all I can do is refer to the UK, but I'm sure it's the same over in Canada. Laws are pretty similar. If you were to drive on the highway with your vehicle and get stopped by what we call a traffic cop, somebody that knows his stuff, then he could prevent your vehicle from being used. If your vehicle, however, was involved in an accident, let's say you did have a blowout, or just, let's say you had a blowout, and the transport agency that you have over there seized the vehicle to do a full inspection to try and work out what went wrong, what caused the accident, then you as the driver of the vehicle are responsible for that vehicle. And if somebody was killed in that accident, then well, that would pose a very serious problem for you, as you'd be held responsible. Now, sure, you can then countersue the suppliers of the tyres, because hey, they are the professionals; they should know what they're doing, and of course they would have to answer as well. But it's a very serious thing, and essentially, as your transport agency has already advised you, your vehicle doesn't meet the requirements for road use at the moment, and therefore will be classed as unroadworthy. And my advice to you, and your solicitor would tell you exactly the same thing, and any professional automotive engineer will say the same: you should not use your vehicle until these problems are rectified. You've got a possibility of wheel studs failing, and you've got a possibility of a blowout on the tyres. Your recourse with Canadian Tyre, first of all, legally, you have to put it to them first, give them the opportunity to rectify these problems. And my suggestion is you put a time limit on that. You know, currently you don't have the use of your truck. You're not prepared to drive your truck back to Canadian Tyre because of the legal ramifications that if you use the vehicle on the road, it's illegal, and there could be an accident. They really should come to town and rectify the problem as quickly as possible, and in the meantime provide you with an alternative vehicle so you can carry out your normal duties. That's basically how it should happen. If that time limit deadline expires and they haven't rectified the problem or really made communication and given you an idea of time frame, then you will have to take legal action against Canadian Tyre. That is really your only opportunity. However, everything stacks up in your favour. All the evidence states that they are in the wrong and you as the customer are in the right. As regards filming on their premises, in the UK and New Zealand, yes, you do need to get prior written permission before you can do that, but loads of people do it. We have lots of TV programs here that do undercover filming on business premises when there's a problem, and they all get away with it, so it's not really a biggie. So I would go with the cop. You haven't really broken the law. And I think, businesses nowadays need to be transparent. With social media as powerful as it is, they do something wrong, the world soon gets to find out about it. So where do you go from here? Well, you need to write a letter, and you need to send it recorded delivery to I would suggest the local store of Canadian Tyre where you had the work done, and that that letter hopefully will trigger a response to get the problem solved. Now, you do also have an issue which you can address with them, is that so far they have demonstrated technical incompetence on many levels, both with tightening the wheel nuts, balancing the wheels if you want to include that, and of course supplying you the wrong tyres, an underrated tyre for your vehicle. I believe you do have the right to request that none of their technicians basically work on your vehicle in the future, and that you would request that Canadian Tyre would arrange for an alternative shop to do the work, a shop that has a far better track record than Canadian Tyre seem to have. The question would pose, what is going to be different the second time you go back to have these problems fixed? Is it going to be the same technician rectifying the problems? Because maybe he's not qualified. Maybe that's why he's working in a tyre shop rather than in a proper dealership doing, should I say it, real work? Yes, fitting tyres is a technical profession, but unfortunately they tend to be establishments that non-qualified, attempted to be qualified kind of mechanics turn up in. My apologies to anybody out there that is a fully qualified tyre technician. I'm not tarring you with the same brush, but there are people out there working in tyre shops that really have no idea what they're doing. They don't understand the engineering behind things like wheel studs and wheel nuts and how they work. And the damage that they can cause by over tightening. So really that brings to a conclusion my thoughts on the issue. If you're going to write a letter, once you've written the letter, if Canadian Tyre don't respond, then you do need to take some legal advice. I can't give you that, I'm not a lawyer, but I have been in this situation with a few of my customers, not, to give them advice, not issues that I've created. I'm usually the one that mops up other people's problems. So there you go, that basically is my opinion of this situation, and I'm going to post this straight to YouTube, and hopefully it's going to help to point you in the right direction. Alright Steve, keep smiling mate, I'm sure you'll get sorted out in the end, but if you need any more assistance then just let me know. Just before I go, actually, one more thing. You need to collate evidence. You need to go online to reputable, recognised establishments. I know you've contacted a couple of tyre companies. You need to contact the manufacturers of your truck, and you need to get in writing a response from them about the over-tightening of wheel studs. Once you've got that, then you've got the proof that Canadian Tyre have essentially damaged your vehicle and made it unsafe. You need to contact the manufacturer of the tyres you've got on your truck and get in writing from them that those tyres are not suitable for your vehicle, and then you can ask them why they're not suitable, and they'll say, well, they're not up to the correct load rating, and then you can say to them, well, what would happen if I drove around with those tyres? And they will probably say, well, there's a possibility that they could fail. That's what you're looking at. If they won't give you that, I'll give you that. I've worked in the tyre industry for a long time. I actually used to sell. I had my own business back in the UK, and part of that business we sold wheels and tyres. And I worked with a company called Bonds International near Pocklington in York. And Richard Croft, a good friend of mine, he taught me all I know about tyres. Okay, there you go, Steve. I've got to get back to some marking now. Hope it helps. Good luck, mate. Over and out.